Well, let's come back home, Alex, and you've been tackling the MHRA on freedom of information.
Even better, someone has on our behalf. Just before we cover that, some wisecracks in our chat box when we started covering these bikes in the military last week suggested that these gentlemen could be called the First Deliveroo Squadron, and that they might also be known as the Special Electric Scooter Squadron, or SESS, which means if they train with the better-known SAS and SBS, they could be training in the cesspit at Hereford. One other person suggested the Taliban's gone green. This is not a finished story, but we want to focus on this at this stage just to remind people that they should never grow weary in pursuing freedom of information requests. A viewer back in January told the MHRA, Britain's medicines and drugs regulator and also regulator of healthcare products, of course, devices, that he wasn't happy with them saying you're a vexatious person. This goes back to, if you were watching last year, you will know many of our viewers and others asked, where's the quantitative risk assessment on your yellow card data on COVID vaccine injuries? And the MHRA decided to have a blanket policy of saying you're vexatious. One viewer, this one, decided to bat that back and said, yeah, no, I want a review, which you have to do first with the agency in question, in this case, MHRA. And he said at this point, you're pointing me to web pages. This is a tactic to fob me off because you're mentioning it at the second stage, not the first. Various things you can freeze the screen and read where he's saying, you haven't really answered me, so I want an internal review. Now, if we zip forward, the Information Commissioner's Office, ICO, took many months to reply. That's not foot dragging, that's short-staffed is the problem there. They took 9 months to reply to his first. And I really want to impress this upon people. Go on, after you've got your go-away response from the MHRA or whoever it is from your review request to them, take it to the Information Commissioner's Office and wait. After a first a 9-month delay, then a 2-month delay to the follow-up, this is what came back. The MHRA has notified the tribunal that it wishes to appeal the Information Commission's decision, which was stop telling this guy he's vexatious. There's no grounds for it just because he wanted a quantitative risk assessment and it wasn't all a campaign after all. Though it has, somewhat ironically, this is British understatement, isn't it? Somewhat ironically, given his findings, the MHRA has asked for an extension in which to file its grounds of appeal. The rest you can read. I don't want to get into the weeds of it. I just want to point out that the ICO is clearly on side with some people who take these complaints, and you should just regard the go away and then the refusal at the second stage from the agency, the review, as the preliminaries. Then you go to the ICO and you wait it out. Moving on to cash and the disappearance thereof, Banter has covered this, that a video has emerged of Swansea City football club deciding that it's going to go cashless in its premises, particularly the fans' shop. And we see that a video has emerged with Swansea City saying that their staff were abused. Now, here is the 15 or 16 seconds of the gentleman in question, Gavin Smith, actually shopping, and see if you can spot the verbal abuse here.
Do you have a season ticket?
I don't, mate. There's really quick. Phone the police.
Answer, there wasn't. There's your £8, phone the police. The club statement on this matter, as covered in the fan site there, was they're very disappointed. There was verbal abuse of a staff member and he left without paying via the correct procedure. We are fully cashless. We've communicated this on several occasions. I asked Swansea City whether they were actually referring to those remarks, there's your £8, phone the police, when they claimed there was verbal abuse. And they replied with this. First, accept our apologies in replying, which is fair enough. However, strange use of the word forever, we would advise you that the full exchange was not featured on what has been shared on social media. Well, if you go to that webpage I showed a moment ago, you can see that there's blank audio before and after. I don't know where the edits should have been. Also, which means on a separate point, so they're not claiming it was part of the footage, the club takes a zero-tolerance approach to abuse towards its staff. In the full clip on that page, you will see that there's effing and blinding before and after the shop, but each of those mentions is clearly referring to the public being weak or to the government, not to the football club. So the only possible explanation, if Swansea's telling the truth, is that there was a not filmed first episode when Mr. Smith went into the club on another occasion. But it's the disappearance of cash that bothers us here.
Yes, and also we are going to get you if you dare to challenge our policy. Okay, well, if you like what the UK column is doing, please support us. And the best way to do that is to take a subscription and join us. This gives you entitlement to join our community, but also benefit from UK Extra, where we discuss other topics in a more light-hearted way, or very often in a more light-hearted way. You can also help us by shopping. So if you haven't got into the UK column shop, have a look online for that. And of course, please share the material. This is one of the key things of putting out the news that we do. We hope that you will share it with others. Now, Debi, your blog is, this is your latest blog, The Future of Britain 2023 and AstraZeneca. Just give us 10 seconds.
Yes, a new drug from AstraZeneca I'd like everybody just to be aware of. We'll cover it in the news in a minute. The MHRA annual report and accounts are out, so there's a link that will take you there. And the man that stole 200,000 Cadbury's chocolate cream eggs and more. Okay, thank you for that. And Alex, you've got some mentions for us here, I think.
Yes, show notes will get the detail of these for you under the programme, but here Afru is with a straight face telling us that the problem with conspiracy theorists is that they're now true. The spectre of true conspiracy theorists has arisen. If you tap that again, you will see the particularly egregious bit. Those with less nuanced thinking, that would be you, me and Debi, argue that revelations of truth are a good idea. But actually, experts say society is more brittle than that now. Because even if people accept one true conspiracy theory, that will inevitably erode trust in essential institutions. The truth's not essential, the institutions are, I get it. Democratic Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett has made a speech you can find described by Reclaim the Net here, not a speech, an interview, saying that if RFK Jr., now a presidential candidate, allowed to speak, by whom she doesn't say, on what basis she doesn't say, that would make the Biden administration hesitant about stopping misinformation. Good news, we're often accused of not covering it. Some might remember the American veteran Joshua Rohrer, who got traumatized in Iraq, who had this wonderful dog, Sunshine, that accompanied him everywhere. You might remember that the city of Gastonia, North Carolina, the police department there stopped him in a rather aggressive way. The dog did not bark or bite, although they claimed that it had. It ran off after being tasered, and then was tasered to death again several hours later on another part of the highway. Well, Mr. Rohrer is deciding, if you tap that again, and this is being covered by Task and Purpose, to sue Gastonia Police Department. And if you hit that again, you will see that there was also lies about him by the city of Gastonia. And if you freeze the screen, the judge in the case as well said you're a low information person if you take his side. The Brownstone Institute has got yet another case of an American state compensating Christians, or ordering the judge there compensating Christians for their rights violations because of lockup. And just a nice amplification, the other side would say, of Iain Davis's useful global public-private partnership pyramid. People are making nice handwritten versions of this now to spread the insights that Iain Davis has come across. We've also published letters to the editor, a wonderful crop, which you'll find under comment halfway down the homepage, lead item being the power of a UK column hoodie to attract the right-minded people around you and to have good discussions, but also a letter from a hypnotherapist, a poem referring to many of the things we said that came true, and also a piece appreciating that we challenge them on their pre-assumptions with what we publish as well. A German doctor has written this as well on VAIDS, vaccine-acquired immune deficiency syndrome. Medical mechanisms for it are now rather well described with references to the scientific literature.
Okay, Alex, sorry, that's this one.